Hello, Hockey World. How are you guys doing today? I'm back. Thank you. Thanks very much for covering for me for a while. Should be good for a little bit now. Things are clearing up with the family. So lots to talk about, of course. But Russ, what's going on?
So I got two quick things. The first one is 6 years later, um, the Raiders are working out Colin Kaepernick, and it's so unfair in the sense that the guy hasn't actually played any professional football in 6 years. So this isn't like, hey, he's just older, and it's like, well, Tom Brady could play at this age. It's like, hey, he hasn't played any organized football anywhere. Like, what's the chances he's going to make a team now? Like, it's ridiculous.
No. He sucked when he was 28.
No, he didn't suck, Mike.
He sucked. Okay, he was a starter that made the Super Bowl. That was, I think, 4 years before he was cut by San Francisco. He was a terrible starter. Now, should he have maybe gotten a backup job at that point? Yeah, but I think
that's all I'm saying. You're telling me he was worse than Joe Flacco is now. Then I'd say no.
No, but I think Russ, we know the reason why he didn't get even a tryout, because the backlash from a number of fans would have been horrendous. And that's now maybe they think, with in the post Black Lives Matter political spectrum type of situation that it would be but I still think there's going to be some bounce back even if they invite him to training camp. So do I think at 34 years old he's good enough to make an NFL team? No, I don't. I didn't think he was good enough at 28. So yeah. Anyway.
So our second one is rest in peace Ray Liotta, 67 years old.
I mean, that's
tough.
That's unbelievable. I mean, so it wasn't. Apparently, it was a sudden. He was filming a movie in the Dominican. There was no pre-existing, no cancer, nothing like that. So it's. I mean, that's really.
Awesome.
What's that? Now they're saying that. I mean, you never know. Okay, and you never know about drug use. You never know about, but from what I understand from the early reports, there was no cancer, there was no anything of that nature. So there was not a pre-existing condition. So, I will remember. Obviously, everybody remembers him from Goodfellas because that's an iconic movie. Of course, I remember him as Shoeless Joe Jackson in Field of Dreams, which I always. And he was asked. I saw some interview about Field of Dreams that he's a right. He played baseball. I think in high school, maybe college. But he's a right-handed batter, and Shoeless Joe is a left-handed batter. They even talk in the movie about, Shoeless Joe's swing was copied by Babe Ruth. All they really had to do, because they wore jerseys that didn't have numbers and names on it. All they had to do was flip the negative, and
that's what they did for Gary Cooper in Pride of the Yankees.
And they didn't do it. And I mean, I always wondered why. I mean,
here's the weird thing about the Pride of the Yankees thing, though. They did it at the very end in editing when they realized, oh, he's a righty and Garrick was a lefty. They didn't realize the whole time they were filming, though.
Jesus.
You know what I mean? They didn't do it as hey, we're going to take care of this in post. They did it as, oh, shit, we've got to do something about this because now it's not right. But here's something else I learned yesterday, Mike. If this is true, I heard it on the radio. I heard that in Lou Gehrig's very famous speech, that is not the complete speech. There were parts of that speech that were not recorded and are missing. Is that true?
Yeah, I think it was longer than just the.
Yeah, how could they not have the whole thing? That's crazy to me.
Well, because I mean, I've never seen. Maybe they only did what was available via. Movie tone, because remember it was on previews. I mean, maybe the text was out there, but maybe they just went with the famous portions of it. I don't know.
No, they didn't. Apparently, it was lost.
Okay,
or they just didn't tape it all, or something like that.
Yeah, they probably edited for time, which is sad.
The speech was 275 words, and they only have a few sentences. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And
you knew it was going to happen that day. They knew. Why wouldn't you have taped the whole thing?
Yeah, that's kind of.
Is it live or is it Memorex?
Anyhow, that's all I got.
All right, let's go here. Hello, Hockey World. It is Thursday, May 26th, 2022.
I'm Michael Agello, and I guess that is a Drew Doughty jersey.
I'm Russ Cohen. I'm going Dave Taylor.
I'm Eklund, and you're both wrong. And you're watching Hockey Buzz, and you guys can guess in the chat room as well if you'd like it. I will reveal whose jersey I'm wearing at the end of the show. Can't lift my arms up too high because you're gonna see numbers here.
I saw the number. I just don't know who the
you're
hell.
You're watching HockeyBuzzcast at HockeyBuzz.com. You saw the number. You don't know who it is.
Yeah, no, it's
interesting.
Yeah, no, it's
interesting. All right. You're watching HockeyBuzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is the podcast that comes every Monday through Friday at this time to fill you in on the comings and goings in the hockey world. And I am thrilled to be back and talking hockey with you guys because so much has happened since I've been here. But we have to start off with last night because what might have been the best game of the playoffs, so far. I mean, it's hard to. There've been a lot of great games in the playoffs, I think, but this one last night,
it was one of the best for sure.
It's hard to beat it. I mean, it's just like it really looked like it was over. I mean, when Colorado's up 3-0 in that game, and you just like you're ready. One of my friends is a St. Louis Blues fan. I was texting him, sorry, you guys know I'm a jinx, so hey. So I texted him, I'm sorry, things are going to go down.
Stop.
Hey, listen, in our group chat, I did put up a video of Elton John singing. I guess that's why they called it the Blues when it was 3-0. I did.
Sure,
I did it.
You did.
I admit it.
I know, and it was pretty incredible. But beyond the Blues comeback, which was amazing. Beyond Darcy Kemper looking very shaky, which is
he made that possible for sure.
Yeah, he made it possible for sure. And
the Tyler Bozak shot, like I could have stopped that.
Yeah. And the tying goal was so nervous. He was so nervous on the handling of it.
I mean, that was the whole point. I mean, that shot was through a maze.
Yeah, but the tying goal was bad.
The tying goal was a little weak.
Tying goal was bad rebound control and a really simple, controllable shot. But beyond that was just like the otherworldly play of Nathan MacKinnon in that game. Yeah. Which, when the Blues tied at 3 and the goal MacKinnon scores to go up 4-3 is one of the best playoff goals I've ever seen. Like one of the best playoff goals I've ever seen. Like in a clutch.
What's funny about that, Ek, is I saw him do that move in juniors. Like that was a move that he would do in juniors. I even said to my wife, I'm like, look at this goal. This is the goal that he would do in juniors. Now he's doing it at the NHL level, which is crazy.
Yeah, we always say that that eventually comes around. Like they say, what guys who dominate in juniors will eventually do it in the NHL.
I mean, if you get that good, yeah.
Yeah, but it was so much about it. I mean, it's end to end, one guy going through the whole team, and then taking a puck that's on its edge and lifting it like the way he did with no space at all. I mean, just at such a high speed, just unbelievable to watch it at. Instant replay of it doesn't do it justice. Like
and you could tell when he got the puck, he
Yeah.
had determination like on his face. Like he wasn't giving up the puck.
Yeah.
You were gonna have to like knock him off the puck to get that puck back.
Yeah. I mean, so we have a guy in the chat room says, Alan says, way too much hyperbole on the MacKinnon goal. Kyrie did nothing on that play. He let him skate by. He's hard to
stop.
McDavid has scored at least 3. Listen, McDavid has an amazing playoff and scored great goals, but no more dramatic or timing wise. Like, I mean, just like you have to take
by the time the Blues were figuring out how to stop that shot, MacKinnon was past them.
Yeah, well, and the fact that the Blues had fought back to tie it at 3, and it really looked like that was it.
I'll give you an interesting theory. I think the thing that screwed the Avalanche was the fact that they had to stop for 4 or 5 minutes to clean up all the hats. It gave St. Louis enough time to sort of reconstitute themselves, and then they scored the tying goal. I mean, if that had been right after, then I think the emotion of God, we came back from 3-0 and tied the game, and now all of a sudden we've blown it and it's over. It's like I think that would have been too much, but they had enough time to say, okay, calm down, we can still do this, and they did.
Yeah,
so that hurt them.
It really did, and that's a really interesting point, and I didn't think of that, but you're totally right. I mean, there was so much momentum. That MacKinnon goal was so good, and there was so much. The energy in that building was so crazy. Definitely plays into it. Having to take that time out like that.
Somebody just messaged me and said is that a Matthias Nordstrom jersey?
No. Nope.
Wow, Matthias Nordstrom. He was part of the Wayne Gretzky deal from the Rangers.
That's right. He was.
And listen, Nordstrom, that's a guy. It's funny. I wasn't a prospect guy then, but of course at that point I was looking at a lot of prospects, and because that's when I think really I started to clamp down on that a little bit. And Nordstrom was a hell of a prospect, and he was good for them. But man, I just remember him being in that trade, and I was like, I don't like them trading him.
Yeah, no, that's something. What was the jersey is the great one? That's what you're saying. Well, that's correct. That is correct. This is a great.
It looked like it was 93 and not 99.
Yeah, okay.
It covered
up 99 jersey. Yep.
So,
yeah, very good call. I know,
that's not a Bobby Orr jersey.
And I know that I got last time I wore this jersey, people were like, oh, he never wore that jersey in LA, and I get that he did not wear this jersey in LA, but it's one of my favorite Kings jerseys, and
that's why I wouldn't have gotten it because he didn't wear it.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a strange one, but I have a series of Gretzky jerseys, so it's one of my Gretzky's jerseys. So it's for my wall. It looks.
So you have enough rags to when you change the oil in your car.
Oh boy. All right, so. We're going to also get into the rumor chart today because the rumor chart is live, and I have some good and lots of things up there to talk about with it. So good. It's 48 names strong. It's amazing how many people on the rumor chart. Usually I launch it right at this time in the second round, and it's amazing this year how many people on the rumor chart are still playing. Like that is something that because I don't do rumors on people that are still playing. Like I don't
remember the season's a little bit off still time-wise.
Oh, time-wise, it's way off. Yeah, it's way off actually because this was yesterday was the 10th anniversary or the 12th anniversary of the Flyers winning to go to the Stanley Cup Finals in 2010. So that's we're definitely a series behind.
Yeah.
But I always do it at the same time in the second round, and the second round is always the second round. You very rarely at this point have this many players still playing that are involved in this, and we'll go through that.
Makes sense.
I'll go through that because that I think is one of the more interesting things about the rumor chart. But and that and just so many different things. I wanted to talk a little bit about the Florida Panthers for a second because I know you guys did yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I got some information, so I was just going to bring it up as what I was getting about it. There is definitely, I think, a sense of. It's funny. People are all like listening to people talking. There's shock. There's so much shock involved, and the Panthers aren't. I don't get that impression at all. Talking to them, I
think they're shocked that there was a sweep.
Yes,
they're upset about it, but of course, you don't want to be swept by your rival or just anything, But the reality is that they felt like they ran into a goalie, which they did. There were two games in that series.
Why did you better last year?
Vasilevsky wasn't as good last year in against them. If you go back,
I would have to go back and look. That's tough.
Oh yeah, no, the Panthers scored a lot of goals in that series last year. Even games they lost, they scored a lot of goals.
Yeah, but we're gonna say because it was Vasilevsky.
No, but I think that when you look at the closeness of those two teams, I think they were pretty competitive. I think the goaltending does matter, and then especially when the Panthers were out shooting them. 3/4 of the series, they were out shooting him, and not just out shooting him, but really quality chances too. And people, I'm not saying that.
I didn't think the last game was quality chances. They were killing them on the shots.
Yeah,
but I didn't think they were great shots. I remember saying that yesterday.
Actually, some of their chances, I agree with that. And it was kind of people were saying, their last game was their best game. It really wasn't. Their best game was the second game.
Yeah,
of the series where they lost with seconds to go.
That was the dagger.
That was the dagger for sure. And but last year they lost. They also lost the first two at home, to Tampa, and then they came back and made it a 6-game series. So this year they could have done that as well. Vasilevsky, it wasn't. And again, it's just like we talked about. It's just not the shots or not the.
Okay, all right. So let's say him and Vasilevsky and Bob switched bodies. You could have taken out Bob and tried Spencer Knight. They didn't do that this time. They did it last year.
Yeah, but it didn't even matter because they only scored 3 goals.
But you don't know what would have happened if Knight makes saves that Bob didn't early on.
But
I other than the one game, other than the 5-1 game, I didn't think Bob was the problem.
No, but it doesn't matter. You make the change.
Well, I agree with what you're saying.
I would have tried it for game 4. I definitely would have tried it.
When they're down 3-0, maybe you just need a change for the sake of change, and you go with Knight. And I don't know whether internally there is some blame pointing towards Bobrovsky since Elliot Friedman came out this morning and said that they're trying to shop him. Good luck, Bill Zito, because honestly, 10 million.
Nobody's taking Bobrovsky.
Yeah, 10 million for 3 more years.
Get that from? So there's just no way that's happening, and there, I don't mean no disrespect to, I mean, they're always shopping Bobrovsky. If you're interested, yeah, sure, give him a call.
Right.
But you to say they're sitting there actually saying, do you want this guy? No, I mean, that's not happening.
No.
They'll listen to anything, and they would definitely listen to Bob. But
who's going to want him at 10 million? Nobody.
No, and actually, again, I'm not blaming Bob on this one at all. Like, I'm not. This is not Bob's fault. This is not
Bob's fault.
He actually made some pretty big saves.
But at some point, they're going to move on from him, regardless.
Oh yeah, at some point they are. But he was better in this series than he was in the Washington series, I thought. In the Washington series, he had moments where he didn't look very good at all to me. But in this series, it wasn't just Vasilevsky making a lot of saves. It was making really big saves at big times, and even down.
Challenge is the cap space.
The cap space next year, because now they already did extend Verhaeghe, which is good because Verhaeghe had this unbelievable
and Barkov,
and Barkov, right? But Verhaeghe, they're getting for a bargain if he continues to do what he did. But I think that I also do.
But is that good that Verhaeghe was your best player? No, that's not good.
Oh no, it's definitely not good. And I also do. Some of the blame I think goes to the coach, who I've heard doesn't maybe wants to be an assistant and not a head coach, and that's something that that's something that's out there, not through any direct source or anything like that, but I've just heard that, and I think that I mean, he did you got to look at the power play for sure. You have to look at the power play. The power play just killed them in both series. Somehow they managed to win the first series without scoring a single power play goal, which like we've said, is hardly ever happens.
Yeah,
you can't do that against the Stanley Cup champions and score one power play goal in 4 games. It's like that was they did get some rough calls, for sure, but everybody gets the rough calls.
Yeah,
I mean, Tampa is better right now. And I think that's why I don't think there's such a blame to Florida as to the feeling that I got, where they just felt like the best team won. Like they feel
all
like.
Right, so I'll play devil's advocate. You're Bill Zito. So Tampa was better last year. You thought you were better this year. You had the cap space. You're not better. I'm losing cap space. How am I going to be better than Tampa next year? Because I'm going to face them again.
Yeah, I mean, you're hoping that. I mean, the one thing you have to look at is the fact that these guys won their first playoff series, right? So he's going to sit down. He's going to say, this team has no playoff experience, and this year they got playoff experience. That does matter, and I think you're going against Tampa, who's got tons of playoff experience. It matters a lot,
See, I think it's going to be the coaching change, because
I think
what Zito said wasn't enough for me to believe that he's going to keep Burnett.
Yeah, I mean, I think knowing him pretty well over the years, he definitely is a keep your options open type person. He's not going to, and he doesn't do anything quickly. He was mentored by Lou Lamoriello. He's got that in him for sure.
That's the only thing he could really change.
Yeah,
because he's not going to have a more talented team next year. So that's something that he could change, and hope that would be the difference. Because again, the only difference between this year and last year, and even though we all agreed that Florida looked like a better team this year, was Quenneville.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily. I think the new coach, whoever it is, and I do think there will be a new coach, regardless of whoever that is Anton Lundell is going to be a key factor in this whole thing, because he is, he's very similar to what's happening with Lafreniere in New York. Lundell is a star, and they know he's a star, and they flat out are they brought him along slowly because they could.
Yep.
But they need to find a coach that can work him into something that makes him.
I mean, Burnett benched him a game.
Yeah, he's got to be playing with players that are skilled players as well as him, and he's got to get some confidence. Not the most confident guy in the world from what I've heard. So
he's 20.
He's 20 and not but he does have crazy amounts of skill, and he is one of the best. He can absolutely be a difference maker.
Until this year, Lafreniere didn't have the same confidence that he had in junior either. So
I think that's Lundell has to make the jump that Lafreniere's made this year, and he has to do it. If he does that next year, that's a little bit of how they get better, because that is definitely a player who does jump in, and you suddenly have a guy who's playing a third line role.
Well,
he really should be one of your top scorers.
The thing that's and we talked about it yesterday. The thing that's overriding when it comes to Florida is the cap situation, and not only the fact that Barkov and Verhaeghe's deals are kicking in, the fact that Huberdeau is a year away from UFA, the fact that you're going to lose. You're probably going to lose Mason Marchment because you're not going to spend the money that you would need to spend on him. Well, and Geru is the big question mark. Whether
and I was told a little bit that they wanted Geru long term early on, but I am not convinced that can happen. I agree with what you're saying. I mean, it's possible, but I still kind of buy into this little conspiracy theory that's out there that Geru is returning to Philly for very little money.
No way.
I have just
a rebuilding team. Why the hell would he do that?
Because he loves it here. Like he's
already made, he loves it. But
he's already made tons of money. His family's here, and he wants to be a part. He has so many friends on the team, and I think for him, he's just the guy who's looking around and saying, you know what, I'm going to come back and play for less money, and let's do this thing.
They're going to have to give him like $2 million. They're not going to have much more than that.
Oh yeah, and it could be less than that, Russ. I mean, I've heard some crazy things, but I don't think that Geru is. I mean, we always say this about people, but there's a lot of like Patrick Marleau in him. I've said before, where he wants to be where he is, and he went there. But the one of the most telling moments with Geru was the first interview I watched on TV when he was being interviewed by the I forget his name, but one of my favorite Florida guys who's one of the announcers down there. He was being interviewed by him, and no,
Bill Lindsay.
Nope. Anyway, but he's being interviewed, and they asked Geru what it was like to play in that that big game for the Flyers. It was big. What it was like, and he said, "Yeah, it was a really tough one. It was emotionally exciting. It was great to do it. I've had such a great career there. I've had so much fun there, and it was hard to believe that I was playing my last game this year for the Flyers." Yeah, when he said, and he put in this year, and it was an interesting thing for him to put in. That definitely means in his head, at least. It's open. There's an opening.
Here's another Panthers question, and this one is a legit one that I think they made a mistake on. Why in the world did they trade Frank Vetrano for a 4th-round pick?
To get Claude Geru, and I think that at the end of the day, that is
you couldn't fit him in salary-wise,
right? That's totally what I think.
Because
that hurt him. That actually ended up hurting him.
It wasn't just Geru; it was
Geru. Oh, it's Sherratt too, right?
Oh, Sherratt. Yeah, that's true.
They brought in a lot, and Vetrano was. I agree with you, Russ. I thought at the time I said, "Oh man, this is not," because he scores big goals. Like he
scored a big one the other night for the Rangers.
He's not a big goal scorer, but he scores big goals. And it's like he has these moments when and for the Panthers this year, there were several times the night before he got traded. Remember, like the game before he got traded, he had 2 goals and won the game single-handedly.
Yeah,
and I think it was against Tampa. I honestly think it was. I think it might have been. I remember it was like a really big game. He scored both goals and then gets moved the next day. There also probably was, and I don't know this for a fact, but there probably was a sense that he was going to ask for way too much money next year.
Right.
And because I think that just trading him, but if just clearing him out to get Geru and Sherratt probably wasn't something that they would have done. But I think that the combination of we need to trade somebody to get Geru, and if he's not, we're not going to be able to afford what he wants.
Because in the end, it ended up hurting him.
Oh, I think it did too. Yeah. I mean, I think there's quite a few things. I think not playing for Hagee on the first power play just is baffling.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense when he's your hot player.
Like when he's your hot player, yeah. I mean, and it took them, and their first power play units who had that other disease of we haven't scored in such a long time that we're going to take a minute and a half every power play.
Right.
They would be out there for the first 90 seconds. The second power play unit where Hagee would get on for maybe the last 30, 40 seconds with a chance to possibly get one shot on. But Geru, Thomas Boyle asked, was Geru a factor? He was definitely a factor. I mean, I think without Geru, they may not have gotten past Washington, to be honest. Because
I have a question to ask you, non-Florida Panther-wise.
Yeah, go ahead. Let's move on.
So the fact that Tocchet was interviewed, and as far as we know, he hasn't been interviewed by Philly. Does that mean Tocchet's not interested in Philly, or does it mean Philly's not interested in Tocchet? That's
a really good question.
I know
there are words out there. There have been, as you know, I'm sure, things from last season that Geru wasn't interested, that Tocchet wasn't interested in Philly, based on what was happening at that time in Philly, based on the GM, based on different things like that. I think he's done a good job for himself on TV. I think that's going to help him because
So maybe he doesn't want to come into Philly because Fletcher could be a lame duck GM here and be gone in a year.
Yeah, that could be. I mean, unless he's got a relationship with Briere, everybody seems to think is the incumbent. So it's like there's
I don't sense that they do. I mean, they could, but I don't sense that they do.
No reason that they really would, but
right,
they're totally different eras in Philly. But you never know. But I think that
Paul in the chat indicated, and I had heard this secondhand, that Dallas was interested in interviewing Tocchet. So
I think Florida will interview Tocchet too.
Yeah,
I do. I really think Florida. I just
find it interesting that Vegas and maybe these other two teams are going to interview Tocchet, and maybe Philly's not gonna. That was a twist.
It's a twist. It's kind of baffling to me that that they are. Especially, I mean, given the larger sense of things in Philly, where the Philadelphia Flyer is, the whole concept of Philadelphia Flyers is totally screwy right now. Like that, that the people who grew up with the team that are buying your season tickets now.
I think there's a segment of the fan base, and I'm not saying it's right, that would feel good if Tocchet were there because they'd be like, he's brought back the Flyer way.
And that there's a big segment. That's a big segment.
It is.
The Flyers have sold that to people for years. Like that is what they built that upon. It's like the Bruins have the same kind of thing, The Bruins have Cam Neely working there, for a reason. Like he's part of if Cam Neely is there, he's a loose cannon to have around in the office, but he is a guy who is absolutely represents.
Only if you have a lot of glass cabinets. No,
he represents the Bruins to a lot of Bruins fans,
right?
And they're like, if Cam Neely's there, we're going to be still the Bruins. We're going to be, and that's, you need that. Like that's something that you need if you're going to build your team on a reputation like that.
No, wait, hold on.
What?
Andrew just said Alan White died from Yes.
Ooh. Oh boy. I'll check it out.
Yeah, sorry.
So I don't know that Tocchet and Trotz have been interviewed by Dallas yet, and I've heard that rumor. I think that Trotz is definitely going to talk to everybody. Yes, I've heard that. I've heard Trotz is going to talk to everybody. He's going to do Zoom interviews with everybody basically, and just which is funny because now you could, but why would you go anywhere? Just do a Zoom interview. If you're Trotz, you want to be traveling all around the country all summer.
But you think he would want to get it over with because he's the one guy that could get hired before the playoffs end because nobody cares. Like it's Barry Trotz. Like he supersedes everything.
Yeah, I mean there was a lot of rumors coming out of Winnipeg this weekend with him that it was close, that it was going to be getting done soon with Trotz, and it just turned out to be nothing but really ridiculous rumors which can happen in cities like Winnipeg and Ottawa, which are so insular that
Alan White has died 72.
Oh, that sucks. That really does suck. I saw him not too long ago in playing for. Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that I think you're going to see Trotz. I like the concept of Vegas with Trotz. Honestly, if I was to put someplace, I think that's a place that would make sense.
Such a short-lived proposition. I think
he's definitely.
Is that what he wants though now? Does he just want a quick fix? You think?
I don't. After he spent so much of his career building in Nashville, and then went to Washington and won a Stanley Cup with a team that just needed an extra little push.
So he's okay with being a mercenary now.
I think he likes being the extra little push, it takes a lot. It's a lot quicker for sure.
Winnipeg is also the team that needs that extra push. There's a lot of pieces in place there. Maybe they're only a coach away from the. But am I wrong to say that Trotz is similar in demeanor to Paul Maurice, and maybe
you are wrong? Yeah,
I mean,
I think you're wrong with that.
I mean, because Trotz is hard on his players, but Maurice is negative.
It's different. The negativity is rough, Mike. It really is. As we know from working with you, it's hard to. It's hard to work with
don't say that when I'm drinking.
I'm sorry. It's hard to have negative people around the office,
That's why Mike's remote.
Yeah, right. Hey, no, but I think that
you can only annoy his pictures and photos.
Negativity is a hard thing. And not just that, but the thing that people don't like about Paul Maurice, the thing that, if you ever hear Mike Sullivan go off on Paul Maurice, there's people, the thing that people don't like about Paul Maurice is that they feel like he is one way to you in the locker room and then goes out to the media and is a different way altogether. And it doesn't feel like you really don't know what he really is legitimate about. And in a way, some coaches use that as a tool to like keep you on your toes. You can use that as an excuse, but it's just players love honesty. Like they'd rather have honesty than that. So that's the thing with Maurice. I mean, there are people who like him. I bet you Florida interviews him too. But I just think that, at the end of the day, Trotz is a totally different ball. Trotz is absolutely straight up with his players, like straight up with his players all the time. And that, like Vino was. Vino is straight up with his players too. But they have different kinds of, things. In Philly, it's interesting. Like Philly is going with Tortorella or Trotz. It's kind of an interesting move because people don't think they're that close if they go with, and those are the kind of coaches you sort of go with to get you over the top. So, I don't know.
That might be an indicator if they go with Torts that, Torts is going to be there as a long-term fix, and that he's willing to go through a year or two where they're going to struggle.
Yeah.
I think anybody who's a realistic viewer of what's going on in Philadelphia has to believe it's going to take a year or two to get things straightened out. I mean, yes, you need Couturier and you need Ellis to be healthy. You need Carter Hart to play like he did early on, before he had his struggles. But you also need to probably add, I'd say, 5 or 6 players to a team that is not very deep, an organization that's not very deep. And I don't know what, you can bring in a coach who can find the best in players, but you still need talent as well. And I think they're short on talent.
Well, I think we definitely next week should start doing our previews for teams, and we'll get into that more about who's there, because we're only 48 days away from UFA Day and 41 days away from the draft. So it's kind of like, we really are. Yeah. I mean, we really are getting it. So that's like, when you consider weekends, we don't have a lot of time to do 30.
Next week's the combine. Like, we're getting close.
Yeah, things are getting really close. So yeah, I think that there's a lot more to that. I don't know. Like, let's get into some of the rumor chart stuff. Actually,
yeah, and then we can talk about the games tonight.
Yeah. Let me get this up. So first, look at this up. So the rumor chart this year was as always. It just gets harder and harder, especially with flat caps. Flat caps are just because the rumor chart is like, and I try to always tell people that remember, this is like where I'm guessing a little bit. Like this, like my rumors that I put out there are things I hear from sources, and I try to just put them out there without any kind of like, without any like prejudice. Like I don't get involved in it. I let you guys say that they're stupid or whatever. That's fine, but I don't do it. This rumor chart is where I like take what I've heard and try to like make sense of it. That's what it is. So let me try. I'll share some things with you guys. We'll start right at the top of the chart today, because we got some good ones right there. All right, here we go. All right, so starting off with this, we're going with Malkin and Raquel and Marc-Andre Fleury. These are three names that are all, obviously have Pittsburgh ties right now, but I think that the interesting thing is, one of the main things I got a lot of comments about was Raquel in Buffalo. But I've heard that through a couple people now, and the Sabres are going to make moves. They're going to do some things, and this is a good guy for them to get, I think.
Well, I mean, he's a steady player. He's a quality player. I think they do need help in terms of experience up the middle, because, they moved Tage Thompson to the middle, but, really, I mean, Middlestad is not, he's shown.
He's a third line center. He'll be a third line center.
Who, Raquel?
No, Middlestad.
Yeah, but see, that's the problem. I don't think he's good enough defensively to be a third line center.
I don't know. I wouldn't throw him out in the back.
I'm not throwing him out. I think he's a quality kid, and I think they hope that he turns out the way they think he will. But right now, I mean, the thing is with the Sabres, I think realistically, the Sabres do not believe that they have enough to make the playoffs, even if they make an add of 2 or 3 players. But they need to get to the cap floor, and they want to add players that can be building blocks to get them closer, maybe in 2 years.
And they want to add fans in the stands, right?
Yes, and I think they will. I mean, I think what happened in the last 20, 25 games of the regular season will definitely help the Sabres in terms of the excitement in the fan base. Everybody was
Owen Power, I guess.
With Owen Power, with Alex Tuck playing well, with Thompson scoring a bunch of goals. there's reason for optimism.
Raquel makes him better. They do need more defense, but Raquel makes him better.
Yeah, I mean, he's 29 years old. He turns 30. He just turned 29. So he made a little under $4 million. But the thing is, he's a center, and the center crop in this free agent pool is not very deep. So, he's going to probably get $4.5 to $5 million. I mean, I think that kind of money.
I'm guessing with the flat cap 3.5 to 4.5, but that's still high. It's still a lot.
Now, I think LA is realistic because LA wants to add scoring, and he played almost his entire career in Southern California, so that wouldn't be.
Yeah, there is a definite Anaheim LA thing because he still has a place there. He's still so it's really easy for him to go back and play for LA. That's not a hard thing to do, and LA does need scoring. We saw that, right? Like that is what LA needs.
Yes.
The now Malkin.
Okay. I don't buy the Columbus thing. I don't because why? Yeah, why would Malkin go to a team that's not going to make the playoffs? And I think they're better than we thought that they were last year, but no.
Columbus is going to be very aggressive. Okay, and
they can offer the most money because they have cap.
They can offer the most money, but they also. Malkin doesn't go to Columbus as we see them now, but if Columbus signs if Columbus signs a couple other guys they're looking at that could be big, Columbus suddenly looks a little different. Like the one thing about the Blue Jackets, and Malkin knows this, is that they compete. They compete, and they even this year when they shouldn't have been anything at all, they were in it for way longer than we expected them to be in it. They were battling for a play. They were on the bubble. They had the season that everybody kind of thought the Flyers would have. They were right there, and they can compete. And I've heard that Malkin has some friends around that organization. I don't know. Florida is an interesting one because we just talked about cap space, right? And how's Florida going to do this? I don't know, but I've heard this.
Well, I just looked at Florida's cap situation. They have. I think it was less than $3 million in all these free agents. You're assuming that they're not going to re-sign Sherratt. This would be indicative of them not re-signing Geru because they couldn't be able to afford Geru and Malkin. Yeah. More than likely, they would be trading Patrick Hornquist to dump his $5.3 million cap hit with a year left. And obviously
no movement clause. So it's going to be a little bit of trade.
No, it's a modified no trade.
Oh, is it okay? Thanks.
Yeah, so he could be moved, but it only could be to certain places. And they're probably this is the problem. Okay, they don't have any draft picks to offer as sweeteners to get teams to take players. So
it is really. I mean, all I can say is that I can't say exactly why I heard Malcolm, but it's just like there is. This is why you get the rumor chart, guys, because I can't. I can't write about this, but I can tell you that Malkin in Florida is going to be something you're going to hear about. I really think you're going to hear about it from more people than me.
I still think Washington's going to be a player. I do,
especially with the news that's come out in the last week, where
that would make sense. But we've heard these things all along. Like Malkin and Ovechkin aren't buddies. I don't know. Like
unless Ovechkin decides I want to win again, and
I mean, and maybe they just get past that. Maybe they're just like whatever. It's and totally
Backstrom with this health situation hanging over him. He may be on LTIR for the entire year next year. He may retire if it's that bad. And now Tom Wilson's going to be on LTIR probably for at least the first couple months of the season because he's having ACL surgery.
Right.
So I mean, I think that's a potential destination. Also, I had heard stuff about Vegas. And how you ask how Vegas pulls that off? Well, they're going to trade Dadonov because they tried to trade him before the trade deadline, and they're probably going to move Pacioretty out because he's got a year left in his contract. So
if they can. Pacioretty is really hard to move. Dadonov not so much. Dadonov could be moved. I mean, Dadonov showed he could play again, so he actually got some. Now Fleury's quick. Obviously we can go through that. These are
the only one on Letang that I would have a hard time with. Would be Seattle. I really don't think he would do that. I think he really wants to be with a team that he feels he could be the missing ingredient for, or at least play and hope to win. Like even the Flyers at 10%, I do get that.
You realize that he has 110% on there. I have to fix that. It just doesn't look like that now. I'm like, okay, that's wrong.
That's true.
That's not right.
Well, I
It's been a long week.
The Winnipeg thing smacks a little of.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how they do that with their cap situation and all the money that they're spending on, Nate Schmidt and Brendan Dillon and the defense as is. They would probably have to trade somebody off their roster to make that possible. And that's not out of the realm of possibility because Winnipeg seems to be a team that's
right
interested in moving. Do you think Letang is going to a situation where he just wants to make money, or does he want to win one more cup?
Well, I mean, if he wants to win, he would stay in Pittsburgh.
Right.
I do think that's the case, right?
Well, he could win in Winnipeg.
Maybe.
He could for sure. But I think at the end of the day, if he wants to win that, I think
because him and Josh Morrissey, that would be a really good 1-2 punch for offensive defensemen. Like that would.
Well, I'm gonna write this today.
I've changed the tag there. Sorry, guys.
Okay.
Right.
There you go. I'm going to write this today, and obviously covering the Leafs.
Yeah.
The Leafs' big need besides goaltending is a right shot D in the top four. They have one in TJ Brody, and the question is, where could they go for the second one? And the second one, could be Letang, could be John Klingberg, both are free agents. But for them to do that, they would have to clear salary off their roster, which obviously would be William Nylander. Now you're putting Klingberg here. Does it make sense for the Devils to go after a double down on right shot D after spending $9.5 million on Dougie Hamilton to go out and spend $7.5 to $8 on Klingberg?
It's not going to kill you having an extra right hand D.
There's not enough right hand D in the world, right? So.
Well, no, but after getting out from under the PK Subban contract at $9 million, do you really want to go out and spend? Like, I know that Klingberg is 29. He's much more mobile than Subban, and he's a better defenseman at this point than Subban. But there are other areas like goaltending with the Devils.
Yeah, I think you're going to do something with goaltending, Mike. But I just think that the owner is trying to make a splash again. I do.
Yeah. No, he definitely is going to. The Devils are all over this chart. I mean,
they're not getting enough in attendance. They are slipping in the division, but they're a pretty good team. So he probably wants to make a bit of a splash.
I think Seattle with Klingberg makes more sense than Sherratt than Letang.
Yeah, I mean, possibly. I haven't heard that though, but yeah, I think that. I mean, that is very possible. I think
because Seattle is interested in generating offense. They had trouble generating offense, and Klingberg is an offensive machine. Now the thing is, defensively, he was minus 28 with the Stars this year. So that hurt. He's not some. If you're looking for somebody in your top four like Toronto is, that's a shutdown guy.
Yeah,
John Klingberg is not your answer.
Right. No, Sherratt could be, but I kept thinking that Toronto would be in on Ben Sherratt, but I haven't been able to get any.
They liked him before, but the problem is that Ben Sherratt is a left shot D that plays the right side. And
I really have heard that Montreal that he could end up going back to Montreal.
That's possible. They got a ton of cap space.
They have a ton of cap space. He liked it there. There's a possibility that he was even told that you're going to be welcome me back here.
Now, the Detroit thing makes a lot of sense because from what we heard from Kevin is that they're looking for a defenseman who is sort of a, stay-at-home type, a good steady veteran type, and he's probably not going to be asking for more than probably $3.5 to $4 million on a short-term free agent deal.
Right. No, you're right. It's really true. I'm going to show you guys something real quickly that's interesting here. So I'm going to go down to the chart where it gets to. So these are the players that are still playing, and it's just astonishing. It's like, when you go through these, it's just like Mason Marchand's not still playing, and or Strawman, but
and neither is Mikheyev.
Actually, so not all these players are playing, but this little section here, and there's are still in there.
And I agree with that with Josh Manson. There's no chance he's going back to.
Well, I just had that on there.
Wait, is Tyler Mott retiring? He's got 0% with the Rangers and no other percent.
What I generally do, and I just didn't do this out, was I put the team they're currently at 0% while they're still playing.
Right.
That's what I'm doing.
Placeholder. Yeah.
as a placeholder for now. But like, so there are other players you see that more up here, like Perron, Trocheck, Vetrano, Zadorov. It's like Nicholas Paul, Niederreiter, Nikushkin. These are all players that are still playing. Nick Leddy. I mean, it's incredible the amount of players that are still playing right now.
So you got Riley Smith. You got him at 60% Rangers. I mean, I can't argue with it.
Corpusalo, you can take off the list because he re-signed a couple days ago with.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Appreciate that. I did know that, and I forgot to do that. I appreciate it. So that's our list pretty much for now. We'll get more into that as we go along here, but that is good to know, Mike. I appreciate that. Yeah, I've been out, but that's fine. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm sure that I haven't even read my comments right away to see that. I'm sure someone else pointed out that I had 110% for.
I'm sure somebody did.
Nothing I do isn't pointed out. So anyway,
right.
Oh, I know that feeling.
Nothing I do isn't pointed out at all. All right, let's talk about tonight. Are we looking at? Have the Rangers turned this thing? Like I feel like they have. I
mean, they have for now. I mean, they have right now. They have the momentum.
Yeah, I mean, Carolina's been great at home, right? So that's like. But I feel
that's
like
a clutch after a while. Like that's
it is.
I see another 2-1 game. It's going to be decided by like one power play or one mistake. It's going to be tight. It's not going to be somebody blowing them out. I mean, yes. I mean, it's impressive. It's puzzling, and Kev said it yesterday, or maybe earlier in the week, that Carolina is the most baffling team. It's like they're so good, but they at times you don't understand what the hell is going on. And really, I mean, it's that is I think they've gotten sucked into a situation with the Rangers. Now they're sort of like, okay, now they're wondering whether they can beat Shesterkin. We talked yesterday about the ex-Ranger factor, where a lot of these ex-Rangers have almost psyched themselves out. Like D'Angelo so wants to stick it up the Rangers, and same with Ron.
D'Angelo is still like showing maturity issues, which is like that's the Rangers saw that. The Rangers didn't think he was going to get past that anytime soon, which is when people are like, why did the Rangers let him go? That's why the Rangers let him go. It wasn't about politics. It was about maturity. I mean, it was about maturity flat out, and he's showing that. I mean,
there was something I said yesterday that you wouldn't have heard, but when asked about D'Angelo and what he was doing at the end, Kreider was kind of like, well, I was in like a scrum. I was hugging people. I was, praying to Jesus or whatever he said. He did everything he could to not talk about D'Angelo because, remember, he was the one who wanted to punch him in the face.
Right.
So, so you can see that that's a big reason why D'Angelo's not a Ranger is because the Russians and Kreider, the way that went down. It doesn't matter that D'Angelo was friends with a bunch of Rangers. It matters that he angered those Rangers because that's mainly the team.
Yeah. I'm a big believer in this Rangers group, so I do think that they turn the tide here, and I think Shesterkin, obviously, Vasilevsky and Shesterkin, they're the two top Russian goalies in the world. They're both going to be, I could see that being an unbelievable series. The two top goalies in the world, probably, right? So they could see that being a hell of a series. And
is Sorokin number 3 at least, Dave?
Yeah, absolutely. I think so.
All right.
And I think he'll catch Vasilevsky. But I think that
like 2028.
Yeah, but right now it's hard to. I mean,
after Vasilevsky's torn a groin,
they're all three of those guys are superstars. It's like we have 3 Russian. Just the Russians have just ridiculous goaltending. Like they really do. They're not the only ones too. There's other ones in the NHL too. So it's like there's great goaltending coming out of Russia right now, like never before.
There is.
I mean, I can't remember ever any country actually in the world dominating one position like Russia's dominating goalie right now.
Well, like Finland about a decade ago, when it was Kiprusoff and Rask, and they were pretty deep in goal. And Rene,
but they weren't like the best goalies in the league. Like
Kiprusoff, Rask, and Rene were pretty up there.
They were up there.
Yeah, they were up there.
they were up there. But I think that those three that we talked about, I think, are the three best in the league right now.
Brodeur, Luongo, and whoever. I mean, it's
Canada's never had three goalies like this. I mean, Canada has had goalies for sure, but I don't think they've ever had three. I mean, Canada's
okay.
Roy and Brodeur were two of them.
Yeah.
At the same time, yes.
At the same time.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, they've ever had the three best goals. It's been. I mean, of course, if we go back in time, yes, they have. But
when they owned like hockey,
right, when every goalie was from Canada, yes. But
three is a big number. Like that one, you probably have to go back to the 70s.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I give like Carolina, and someone's going to say in the chat room, and I do believe this is true. Like, I do think Brind'Amour is a great coach, and I think that he's probably the best line matching coach that we have left.
He is a great coach, but what we've noticed, especially in games 3 and 4, there's been instances where he's been befuddled, where things that Gallant has done, like in game 3 when they put Hedel on the first line with Zibanejad and Kreider, with the inability of the Hurricanes to sort of break through the Rangers D in game 4. There are things and taking stupid penalties. I mean, Max Domi doing his stupidity, D'Angelo losing his cool, Brady Shea losing his cool every once in a while. I mean, these are things that in and of themselves are not problems, but piled up all together, it can be the difference between defeat and victory.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back 1972.
Okay.
If you take out Gilles Meloche for having just a crazy year, you had Tony Esposito, Ken Dryden, and Rogie Vachon.
Yeah, and
for Team Canada
that's 72.
I know.
Summit Series.
Yeah. That's definitely. I mean, like then
that's an amazing trio.
No, it's an amazing trio, but you had no Russians, Finns, or Swedes in the league, so it was
No, but we're talking about in the world because those are the world.
Those world, yeah, no, the Russians.
Those are the three goalies those are the three goalies that were in the Summit Series against the Russians.
Well, was Tretiak better than any of those three?
Probably. He was better than two of the three.
Yeah, all right. So it's like in the
He's
world.
Better than Vachon and Esposito.
I really legitimately think the Russians have the three best goalies in the world right now.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty crazy.
They might.
I think and
but they can't play in the Olympic.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's the truth. So the other game tonight, of course, is going to be, and that what a crazy game that was, which I wasn't here to talk about, but unfortunately, that was. When Mike Smith let in that goal, Mike, I was like, oh my gosh, I heard the podcast already. It was like podcast was ringing in my head. I mean, obviously, that's a goal that I've let in. Like I know. I'm bad on. I was historically terrible on like really far shots like that at times. I don't know what it was with me, but that was one of my pet.
Lundqvist talked about it in between periods. He said, "I gave up one against Washington." He goes, "I can't say I didn't see it." He goes, "I just didn't catch it, and I killed myself."
Sometimes when you have that much time to think about something, right, when it's coming at you, it's really it's like we see outfielders catch fly balls, miss fly balls. It's like. This happens, right? So the reality is, and this is something that
Smith runs out of oxygen. There was a point where there was a puck that was just outside of the blue paint, and he dove at it like he was diving in a pool because going post to post, he had nothing left other than to do that.
Exhausted. And do you think? And if Calgary's exhausting him, Colorado, man, it's just like there's things that Calgary's got a great offense, but the way Colorado moves the puck around, I don't like.
Yeah. Colorado has more mobile defensemen.
Yeah, not to go ahead too far, but I don't like Edmonton's chances against the Avalanche at all. I think the way that played, but we're not going to go there yet because
we're not going there yet.
I think Calgary, honestly.
No, don't say it.
Don't still win the series. I really do.
Don't say it.
Why? Why didn't I say that? You don't think Calgary can still win the series? These games are tight.
No, let him say they can win the series. They can't win the series.
Why can't they win the series?
Because their defense can't match up against the top two lines of Edmonton. They're too slow.
Because you just predicted they could win.
They're too slow, and Markstrom's been bad.
Yeah,
Markstrom's been bad. Yes,
Markstrom from the late first period till almost the end of the game was good. Was the Markstrom that we'd seen most of the year, and then he let the RNH goal was a bad goal. The game winner was a bad goal. So, they're not
intriguing to me, Markstrom in the playoffs, because like we've seen now Markstrom a couple times in the playoffs. This is the first time with Calgary, but with Vancouver, Markstrom struggled in the playoffs as well. And I, for what it's worth, there is something about being a playoff goalie that's different than being a regular season goalie. And but I still think that Edmonton is well within their capabilities to blow this, and that Calgary is well within their capabilities to come back in this. I think that this is a game by game series. I do. I think that Calgary's lost 3 of them right now, but it's still a game by game series. It really is.
Well, there's no
they win a game.
I am not saying, Thomas, in the chat room, that I think Calgary will win this series. I do not think that, but I think they're very. I picked Edmonton to win the series. I think Edmonton's going to win the series, but I don't think it's going to be a 5-game series. I don't think it's.
I think you and Thomas are right. I do.
I don't think it's going to end. I am not saying that, Russ. I don't think it's going to end tonight.
I'll say it for you. I think you're both right.
I just don't think it's going to end tonight. I think that, and I think the Rangers. I mean, that we're only going to get probably 1 7-game series, right? That's what it looks like. But we'll see.
It does seem like that's what it looks like.
I mean, do we think St. Louis can now win Game 6?
Yes.
I don't think they will, though, but they can.
No.
You think that you both think they won't win, but you think they can?
I think they can win. I think
the Bennington loss was so huge to them
that's why the vitriol against Kadri was so ridiculous.
But Ruby's doing a really good coaching job. Believe me, he is.
Yeah. But just to sit there and watch them play with Bennington versus watch them play, without Bennington is such a different.
Yeah, they're not as confident in Husso.
But Husso had a good game. I mean,
he's been good for them all year. But it's just Bennington has won a Stanley Cup, and there's just something about that, and you can see it. And we often joke about you're going to get a guy who's won a Stanley Cup. It does matter in these playoffs.
There's no word of Freddie Anderson playing tonight. No word at all. Anyway, either way.
So this was a shell game, is what they're saying.
I mean, he's been on the ice. It could be a shell game.
I mean, is Rask really gonna? I mean, that's a big issue to me. Like, I think that.
I mean, Ranta. Yeah, no. Ranta has not been. I don't think Ranta has been the reason why they lost 2 games in New York. I think that he played well.
No, but again, if they had a chance to play Anderson, would the players play a little better in front of him than Ranta? Sure. Maybe.
Big saves. More games at big times, Mike. I still go back to that with Ranta. Like, he hasn't made the big saves at the big times.
I disagree with that, Russ. Ranta's made some pretty big saves.
I didn't say that. X said that.
No, I said that. But
no, yeah. I'm saying because Russ is. I think Ranta has made big saves in this series.
He has made big saves.
I didn't say he didn't make big saves.
I'm not saying you didn't say it.
What are you talking about?
You just said that.
I agree with Mike.
Eck just said it.
No, I agree with Mike.
But you said my name.
Ronta
I'm asking you. I'm asking you to agree with me.
Oh, then ask it like a question, Mike.
I just did.
You really didn't.
Russ.
With Mike, Russ. Ranta's been great. Anyway.
He's made some very big saves. But I do think the players are more familiar with Anderson and probably would play a little harder for Anderson subconsciously. I do.
I
don't think Anderson's better. I'd love to see Freddie Anderson in there just to see what the hell happened.
Yes, we know how you love Freddie
Anderson. Let's leave with this thought. What are the odds right now you give of Tampa repeating as Stanley Cup champions?
High.
3-1.
3-1. Are they your favorite right now? Do you think they are the favorites?
They're close to my favorite. I'm not going to reveal that they're a favorite yet because I'm still shooting other things in my brain.
Yeah.
Other things could happen here. So
I don't see a team.
Tampa would have a tough time against Colorado if Point doesn't come back. But Vasilevsky's the great equalizer.
That's the thing. Vasilevsky versus Kemper is not close. To me, I think the best shot would be the Rangers, honestly.
I do too, but I want to see what they look like if they get past it, all that stuff.
Yeah, there you go. All right, that is all the time we have for today. And again, if you have a problem with Russ's opinions on Ranta, please put it in.
His email is Russ Cohen.
Or the way Mike delivered the question that really wasn't.
I agree. No, but I agree.
It's a non sequitur.
But you shouldn't have said that he wasn't making mistakes. All right. Remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
You guys are cool.